Good afternoon, everyone, because I just saw that it's past 12. So from the superhero to the super feed. But I would like to say that when you talk about the aquafeed, this is not really promising, because when we are talking about the aquaculture production, then this feed is the most single on item that actually contribute to the most expenses for the farms. And also, from this aquafeed, if this is not properly managed, then it is actually contribute to the negative impact to the environment. So today's title is very interesting, which is Circular Nutrition Transforming Fish Byproduct into Sustainable Aquaculture. The story begins with identifying the problems. We all know about Vietnam, and Vietnam is very, very strong in aquaculture productions. If you look and check back the data or statistics, their production is very huge. But the main problem that we identified is there is a big group of small-scale farmers, and they are very much rely on for their aqua farm is wild-caught fish, which is trash fish. That is not really promising. We all know that the trash fish, if we are totally dependent on the trash fish, it is not really promising, because the statistics say the wild capture fisheries is already in the maximum sustainable yield. So whatever effort or whatever devices we develop, it doesn't increase the amount of wild caught fisheries. So we have to find the alternative that could actually contribute to the aquaculture productions, which is nowadays and even in the next 50 years will be increasing. So that's the reason we are putting here that we could be promote to the farmers. There is a shift from this trash fish to the formulated diet. And how we can do that? There's a strong belief that trash fish is actually contributing very positive impact to the aquaculture production. And this is reality, and this is true. If you look at the statistics, the aquaculture productions, if you use the trash fish, the production performance is better than giving the formulated diet. So why they are going to do that? Yes, we have to convince them. We have to convince them because the data and the statistics is saying if we keep doing the same practice, then in the long run, we'll be totally lose this. So there are a couple of problems we have been identified, because the project is from the IDRC. There are plenty of things has been included. Yeah, definitely the JC part is in here. There's underrepresented into this, any kind of decision making in aquaculture sector in Vietnam. And also another important thing is the lack of reliable data. So when we're talking about that, this is the scenario, then we don't have enough data to look at. We cannot refer it. So finding a suitable and reliable data is another important drawbacks, that there is not availability of this data set. And then lack of pellet when fingerling. What is that? We are talking that we want to replace this trash fish to the pellet diet. But being an aquaculture scientist, maybe it is easier for us that when we are transferring or releasing any kind of fish to the farm, then if the early stage is properly managed, then the grow-out phase, the latter phase, which is after the juvenile stage, it will be properly managed. So we have to ensure that this grow-out phase, the early stage is properly managed and maintained with the diet that we are planning to give them. So this pellet when fingerling is that group that we have to train this fingerling with the alternative diets that we are planning to give them rather than giving the trash fish. And then if we are successfully do that, then it would be eventually give the better growth performance in the adult phase of the fish species. And I mentioned the depletion of fish stocks, which would eventually impact the pollutions. I want to give you very interesting statistics that if we unused feed found into the farms, 1 kg of unused feed actually giving 70 gram of nitrogen and 10 gram of phosphorus to the environment. That is actually making a massive eutrophication contributions. So this is really alarming. And definitely the measure on is dependency on the wild-caught fish. We do not want to see that. So that's why, being an aquaculture scientist, we are trying to develop this new feed diet that will give the solution for the future aquaculture projects. So this is, I want to make a little bit clear of that this is a very big project, and the pilot study has been done in our James Cook University, but the field application has been conducted into the Vietnam. So we have a different research partner in Vietnam, which is called Research Institute of Aquaculture. They're located in Vietnam. So whatever we develop into our laboratory, we just apply it into the Vietnam. So as suggested, that we are going to develop a cost-effective, nutritionally balanced diet, which is this one. And then we establish a weaning protocol, and we train the fingerling. And after that, train farmer in advanced feeding practice. So we develop the feed, but farmer doesn't know how to do that, how to provide them precisely. That is going to be another problem. So we have to train the farmers, and we can do that things in the field levels, and also that some of the key personnel will come to the research institute in Vietnam, and then we have been provided the training, the sufficient training. And of course, we want to ensure that the gender and youth is been contributing on any sort of decision making. So I want to show you how this is the pellet went fingerlings. This has been developed in our laboratory. We have been using the underwater video camera. Their performance and everything is very, very fantastic, and they're really promising. And we are also going to correlate this concept in order to see how these things has been performed into the upper water environment and into the underwater environment. Therefore, we have set it 2 different types of video camera in the top and into the bottom, and which has been connected with the hydrophone, and we try to use the acoustics technology to determine the exact feeding and when they are satiated, when they do not need food, and then after feeding activities. Because when the farmer feed the fish, they only look at from the surface. They can see that the fish is eating or not. But in the bottom, there is a different scenario. So we have to ensure that this underwater environment is being precisely consume the diet, or if not, then what could be the alternative approach to remove those items from the tanks. And definitely we have the concept of circular economy. So how we can, as I said, that we want to develop the alternative feed, but how we can do that? So in Vietnam, I want to give you some statistics. This is according to FAO 2023 and Statistica 2024. The aquaculture production in Vietnam is massive, 5.46 million tons. And out of 4.6 million tons, 1.7 million tons is from the pangasius productions. Tremendous. The top aquaculture production has contributed from the Vietnam for this pangasius species itself. But very surprisingly, if you look at this statistic, this is also very interesting. This pangasius, only 30 to 35% is being used as a fillet, and it's been, exported to the overseas country. Even in Australia, we found that one is quite expensive, but 70% is byproduct. So we have to, the idea came here, we need to utilize this byproduct, because we have do some research, and we have contributed our pilot study. It takes about 5 kilo of this byproduct to produce 1 kg of fish meal. So if we could utilize this byproduct, that could be a huge contribution in order for circular economy and also to minimize the pollution to the environment. So we are utilizing this byproduct to develop the fish feed. So the process is here. So this is the byproduct after collecting the pellet. We're utilizing this and we extracted the fish oil, and then we processed the fish meal, and then eventually we formulate the main targeted food item, which is the fish pellet from the catfish byproduct. And then, if in Vietnam, normally one particular fish species, they also have a fish. Those are commercially important, like grouper. They also have cobia, they have pompanos, all those items. Then we try to, as I said, some fish are surface feeders, some are bottom dwellers. So we also try to find out the floating and sinking type of pellet that actually contribute to the two different type of fish groups. So we also monitored these things. This is the video camera. We have set it into the lab, and we can see that how the floating pellet and the sinking pellet contributed to the fish feeding. And based on this idea, we trained the farmer and then developed these feed management techniques. We have some pilot study outcome already, very promising. We have found that this catfish byproduct has a huge nutrient resource, and a high protein is about like 63%, and also the all essential amino acid. And in order to see their acceptance into the fish, we also found a very tremendous findings. If you look at it here, this is the catfish byproduct. Itself is not that much of appreciable, but if we could a little bit add up with the squid viscera and feed hyaluronic acid, then we get the maximum outcome from this byproduct. And this is the outcome from the video monitoring data, how their feeding activities in the morning and the afternoon trial. Definitely the afternoon trial is giving the better, they are more hungry because the duration is very high. That's why they're accepting more food on that particular times. And then this is the NBS impact. So if you don't really use this trash fish, that will minimize the environmental pollution, and at the same time we are utilizing the byproduct to make the pellet diet, and then it will be fed to the grouper or any other commercially important fish, will minimizing the environmental pollution, at the same time giving the alternative feed source for these commercially important feed items, and at the same time contributing to the lot of SDG goals 2, 5, 8, 12, and 14. Ladies and gentlemen, this is our current findings till now. Thank you very much. I also would like to thank NACA for the financial support for these travel grants and Future Fish and all those Christine, Nuren, and everyone. Any question, you are most welcome. Thank you.